Welcome, everyone. We're back here, Wizards of the Couch, for episode 1. So for those of you who thought that the previous episode was episode 1, no, that was session 0.
Lies.
You thought you've seen us before. Lies.
Yeah, session 0. So if you saw that one, you know what you're getting into. It's just going to be some free-ranging conversation. We got an excellent guest here this evening, Jen Page. And we're just going to... It's going to be me, Danny, Jimmy, KC, and Brian talking about all things gaming for the next hour and a half. I think we're going to, we just want to let everybody know, just as a warning up front, it's a grown-up show. We have grown-up language. It's not too over the top, but, you know, this is not necessarily for the little kids at 9 o'clock on Monday night. So because we've only been on one time before, I guess introductions are in order, right, everybody?
Yeah, sure.
So I have no idea who any of you are.
How
did I get here?
We sent Jen a letter on really expensive letterhead. And she responded immediately. It was gilt. It looked like something from the 1890s. We knew exactly who we were.
It was the $100 bills that really
and the $100 bills. Yes, the $100 bills. I didn't know you were going to bring that
Why
up.
are we so trans?
So, getting introductions out of the way, I'm Danny Grimes. I've been a pro GM at Gen Con for about 15 years. I've been running games all my life. I'm a writer and a graphic artist. I design terrain. I do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm a maker and a whiskey drinker. So I'll be drinking my lovely scotch. And I'm also going to pass it over to Jen as our guest. Jen Page, why don't you tell us a thing or two about yourself?
Oh, geez. I didn't know I had to talk.
Oh, God.
Oh, I can tell you as well.
Let me see. People might know me in the gaming community for being a bit of a genre actress. I was in Darkness Rising and Journey Quest in a movie called Project London, where I got to run around with giant robots and shoot giant guns. And let's see, I'm a cosplayer, actress, artist, all kinds of things. Love to game, always at Gen Con, other conventions, that sort of thing.
Yeah, worked at Wizards of the Coast for a long time.
Yeah, 13 years I did web design for them. Yeah.
13 years.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was their web designer for D&D for quite
Oh,
some
wow.
time. Yeah, and now I work for Smiteworks for, you might know their product, Fantasy Grounds.
Fantasy
Yeah.
Grounds.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Fantasy Grounds in the house.
Wonder who uses it on the channel here.
Fantasy Grounds, love it. I'm their graphic designer, and I also help them with marketing.
Right on. Cool. Okay. Thank you, Jen. And then I guess I'll just pop over to Brian real quick. Brian's an author, a game designer. You probably know him through Total Party Kill Games. He's put out a ton of stuff. And he also is kind of helps us direct everything around here. So he's kind of helping run things behind the scenes.
That's what I'm supposed to be doing?
Which is
Yeah, I know. Hey,
which answers so many questions.
Not that guy. The guy
Jen
next
got a $100 bill. I got a $1 bill.
Yeah, that's right. You got a bill. You got a bill.
A bill.
You got a bill for several $100 bills from me. And then I'm gonna jump down to Jimmy next. Jimmy is the mastermind and the chief reject over on Praetor's Rejects on Twitch TV. His channel is now helping us out big time here on Wizards of the Couch, and you can check him out. When do we check you out? When do you run?
Whoa.
Well, we're going to
When don't
talk
you
about
check
that
them out?
tonight too. For this
Okay, good.
channel
We'll
and
get
my
back to that.
channel.
We'll get back to
Yes.
that.
Yep.
And then the evil mastermind, Matt, KC, he's the guy with the black couch behind, or the green couch on the black background behind him. He owns Kobold Con. If you ever make it out to the middle of this great country, you can
Nice.
attend
You
Kobold Con. And he also runs the Blackwood Society. We publish all sorts of role-playing related content, run stuff at conventions where,
Organized play, yeah.
Matt sets all that stuff, organized play platform for all sorts of games. So I guess, are we ready to get rolling? Is everybody?
Let's do this.
Tell anybody
I
what you're
don't know. Should we film?
Okay.
Should we do a show? I don't.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to roll forward. Okay,
Did
so
anybody change their mind at the last minute? Because I feel like there's an opportunity right now.
Jimmy just gets out, and walks out, throws down the cans, and
No,
he's gone.
guys. Yeah, I'm out.
Okay, So I think this is probably a larger issue, and it's one of the things I was really glad that we got Jen on the show today. I think it's probably folds into a much larger issue about how this hobby is growing and changing. And for those of us who've been around for a long time in various roles, I've been on like the side of it where I've been just consuming it and making my own stuff. So I don't have probably the same insider thoughts that everybody else will have. But I see a lot more participation in gaming from people of all sorts, color, creed, gender, all of that. And I think that somebody like Jen, who's been involved in gaming in many different aspects, I'm curious what you think about, the current representation of women specifically in gaming, not only at the table or running games, which I've seen plenty more of at these conventions lately, specifically GaryCon and GameholeCon, but also involved in the business side. So pick that apart however you want. Like, what are your thoughts about just seeing more women at conventions, seeing more women participating in the game just in any role?
Right. Well, I think it's really great how mainstream gaming has become and geekdom in general. It's really become something that, with people growing up and being exposed to it, they don't even realize that there was a time where people didn't outwardly say they gamed and things like that, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mainstream and to be a part of something that people don't even have that contrast is really great to see. And I think, on the ground level, from just like your personal gaming circle or the people you come in contact with, I've always kind of seen it as, I've always had other girls in my group, and people from all walks of life, people who are married, have kids, don't, that sort of thing, younger, older. And I don't know, I think it's just really great to see the progress that's been made, and I can only hope that it continues to grow bigger and become even more positive.
Yeah, for sure. I likewise always had women, and when I was younger, girls and women who played in my games or who I was playing with, and somebody else was GMing. So it came as a big kind of shock to me when I met people who were not like that, where it was very much a boys' club, I guess, back then.
Sure.
And I wonder how much of it.
For me, it was, am I going to go out on a date on Friday night, or am I going to game? So there was definitely no crossroads there.
Yeah.
I don't even know when the first time I admitted I was a gamer, but it was definitely a closet hobby.
Yeah, I would definitely have to bring it up first, right? I have a friend when I lived in Illinois. Right away, I was just like, "Do you game?" And he's like, "Why would you say that?"
Yeah,
Did I leave my dice out somewhere? What happened?
I would like hide your game books, that sort of thing. And it's like, I really hope that no one would ever have to do that, especially about something that they truly love, And it, again, it's so great that it is becoming more commonplace, because you shouldn't have to do that with anything that you're passionate about.
It's really, I think you've got a lot of, there's a lot of periphery things you can talk about now that can lead in that discussion. I've had that happen a couple of times now. Game of Thrones, or
do you watch
Critical Role? Somebody who happens to idly mention Critical Role, you're like,
yep,
code words.
yeah.
But yeah,
it's
that's another thing.
It's almost like being in a scene for music. Like, if you know the right 3 bands to mention, you can hang out in the VIP room.
Yeah.
When I started in like the very early 80s, my way of doing it, I brought my player's handbook. I was always that kid with 12 books in his backpack anyway, and I just sat on my desk.
Yeah, perfect.
During class. And then everybody else in the room was like, "Oh, okay." And people who didn't care, and people who did know, were like, "Right up."
Danny, you bring up an
I've seen
amazing
that documentary.
point. I don't know if people today, like the young kids today who have PDFs and tablets, understand the struggle that we had.
The weight.
I have back injuries. I still have back injuries.
Right? We used to have every splat book and try and carry it around in like a sports duffel bag, camouflage the fact that we're gamers. And then we'd be walking like this.
And actually the availability of the books. We went to conventions. We're going to talk about conventions a little bit later in this episode, but going to conventions to get the book, because not just because it was being released there, but because that's the only place where they had every book, and you could backfill your catalog.
Or having your books maybe stolen, borrowed.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a drag. That's a
You hear
drag.
horror stories about people Magic the Gathering cards that have been, stolen out of their car or whatever, and you're like, $10,000 worth of cards.
What
Yeah.
were they doing in your car?
Yeah, nerd.
Yeah. So just to, I'll just tell one final miniature anecdote. We had a guy about Magic. He came into our Call of Cthulhu ground about 1:00 in the morning. Our games run real late. And he comes in, he's just this dude. He's got his backpack on, his headphones. He's just kind of bopping in the corner. And we're all like pretty old school Cthulhu gamers, right? But we're like, whatever, he's looking for a place to land. He's sipping his mixed drink. Afterwards, he goes, "Can I play tomorrow night?" And I was like, "Sure, man, whatever." He goes, "I don't have a ticket." I said, "I don't give a fuck. That's fine." And he then proceeds to say that his backpack has $30,000 worth of Magic the Gathering cards in it. That this is just how he makes money. He hasn't loved doing it for like 3 years, but he just comes to conventions. And he brought up the point. He says, "You never leave your cards anywhere,
Right.
ever. You don't leave them in your room because people know that it's money. So he said it was really weird. And then he came the next night, and he was an awesome role player.
Great.
That's
So
great.
it was. You never know how you're going to be exposed to people in those situations.
But he was probably one of those jerks that played blue decks. So
Yeah, those guys. Always ruining my game, shutting me down.
mhm.
So I guess kind of welded onto that question is, what is the deal from your perspective of like now this almost celebrity status of D&D?
Yeah.
So I went to Gamehole Con, and I had my moment with Gary Gygax in 1987, where he was smoking Chesterfields endlessly outside the field house at Parkside, and I got to hang out with him. I get it that there's a little bit of fandom, right? But you could not meet these people. It was difficult to meet these people. They all have handlers, which I get. I understand why that has to be. But like, what
Guys
is
like
this-
you, Danny.
is that?
You ruined
Excuse
it
me,
for
sir.
everyone.
Excuse me. I'd just like to tell you my ideal for a novel.
Yeah, exactly. For 3 hours.
And I've got it all broken into 700 pages. So I'm just curious what you think of, is this the beginning? Is this going to kind of peak out? Like there's only so many Joe Manganiellos, there's only so many Vin Diesels,
Yeah.
or is this going to become part of like an acting cred? Like,
I don't know. I think I'm with a lot of people where I'm kind of holding my breath to see where this goes, because if it just gets too celebrity fixed and too Hollywood, it almost feels like, it's becoming, not corporate, but it feels like we're losing something there.
Disingenuous.
And it's
Disingenuous.
about being relatable and just enjoying the game. It isn't about some A-list person is gaming, and it's cool. Obviously it's cool if they really love it and they found this niche that they can be a part of and really enjoy that experience. But if it's just like, who's the next celebrity that we can hire to run this game for us, then it's like, that breaks my heart a little bit. So I'm kind of waiting to see where it goes. But as it is now, it's like, more power to you. If you love this and you're here because this is your dream job and you're finally getting to do it and really spread the word about something you love, go for it. But I do kind of worry about if it's just gonna, everyone's gonna have the next, gaming show or something like that. And it's like, I hope it stays genuine.
so that kind of segs into the idea that is Matt Mercer like ruining your D&D game, right? By being so good. I think people often conflate production value with quality, right? These things all look good, but are they good?
And it's the internet, right? Everything has this magnified lens on the internet and in social media, and you're always going to find the people complaining too. It's like, gosh, if he's a good DM, don't be intimidated by that. Be inspired.
Yeah,
Right.
be inspired by it. Yeah, for sure.
No matter what, we have to give him some credit for bringing so many people into the hobby, to making it an entertainment venue, if you will, that took people who'd always wondered about Dungeons and Dragons, always wondered about role playing, and allowed them to spectate and then indulge their curiosity and pick up the books and get into the hobby.
And that's fantastic. I would hate to think that anyone's going to ruin it just because they need to find something to complain about. It's like, oh, come on.
So maybe
either love gaming or you don't.
Maybe the real question though is when I sense that people that are a lot younger than me, I don't know how many people are on this.
That's a lot.
But I play with
I'm so much younger than you.
I play in a youth group. So I run a youth group game, and they are much more attuned to the performance of it.
Mm.
They appreciate lack of risk so they can explore without risk. Like they're really not interested in killing campaigns. They're interested in discovery campaigns like Numenera. So I sometimes wonder if this thing with Mercer I think he's wonderful. I've met him. He's a great guy. But I wonder if part of it is this idea that there's a faction of people that are like, these games got to be old school, and he's ruining it for us because he's presenting a whole other way of gaming. This is what I mean about the modern face of gaming. The modern face of gaming is not one thing anymore.
Right. Well, then don't game that way. If you don't want
right.
It's all about your own gaming group, and enjoy it for what it is, and don't feel threatened by it.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool to do an episode upcoming where we really talk about all the different ways that people run and play and what their expectations are and why they might be. I find that honestly the most fascinating thing about this era of D&D is just all the different beautiful weirdos that like I finally get to interact with, and they're even in amongst a group of people who are a little bit shy and maybe don't want to put it all out there. There are people that are they're on fire, and I just find that really cool. I'm glad it's happening.
It's really cool that there's something for everyone,